Well, hello and welcome to the Snapdragon Studio YouTube channel. It's lovely to have you here. My name's Jane, and today I am going to be talking about a project which I had abandoned and have recently taken back up again and am about to finish. The impetus for this, and for a lot of the videos that I've been making in the last few weeks, is that this month and last month in the studio, we have been talking about projects that don't get started, projects that get abandoned, the projects that we have a bad relationship with. And we've been bringing them out into the open and talking about them and having a good hard look at them, completely without guilt, completely without worry, quelling all of those voices in our heads that go on about never finishing anything or not getting things right or wasting money. Getting rid of all of those voices and just looking at them. And what's been really interesting is that as soon as you start talking about something, as soon as you bring it out into the light, not only does all of that guilt kind of like just fall off by the wayside, but you also get really good ideas. And you get to know whether, this is what we've been looking at, whether it's something that we love enough to finish, whether the problems have just been some kind of like technical thing that is easily solved. Can, sort that. Often people can help others sort it. And then you're sort of like, you're on an easy road. Or, and this does happen, things have bad memories, or we've outgrown them. We no longer like things, projects would no longer fit us, or whoever it was that we're making them for. These things we've just been looking at and going, right, it's time to move them on, either to swap or to gift or to sell. And this is what we have been doing in the studio. And the project that I brought to the table was this one. Now, if you watch these videos, you will have seen this project quite a lot. Right from when I was really excited to be starting it to now, when hopefully this is it finished. So this bundle here is the heirloom quilt cardigan. Now, the heirloom quilt cardigan is a really lovely pattern. And it was a pattern that went viral on Instagram, and which I must admit I was taken by the hype and the fear of missing out, and I wanted to do it at the same time as everybody else and all of that kind of thing. Now, the pattern is made up of lots of these colourwork squares that are joined together. So it is a patchwork because all of the squares are joined together, but each colourwork square is pretending to be a patchwork. And then it's held sort of by this garter stitch outside bit. And then when you sew it together, you get all of the points to match and it looks like a quilt. And when I saw the pattern, I thought it would be absolutely perfect for some yarn that I had been hoarding. Ages ago, like years and years ago, I had been to a workshop with Julia Billings, who it's Woolen Flower is her kind of online name. And we did some indigo dyeing, and I dyed some of this really lovely linen yarn. And it's one thing that I've dyed that is not from the garden. And I had been kind of like hanging on to it and looking for a project that I could mix it with my plant dyed yarns from the garden. Now, I'd been dyeing lots of neutrals because I wanted it to be, there to be no oranges in it, I suppose. No oranges, no pinks, no warm colours. I wanted it to be really cool and neutral and to go with indigo dyed clothes that I have. So here I've got lots of really pale neutrals, but also greys. And then there is this rather cool yellow, which is meadowsweet. A really nice green that I got from bronze fennel. Willow herb. You know, there's some oak leaves. There's some, what else is in there? Alder. But really nice neutral colours. And I thought what I'll do is I don't need another boxy cardigan. Don't need another short one where you're going with your arms out. I'll have a long cardigan that will cover my bum. And I started to knit the squares. And then my dad became ill. He had to have a heart operation, and there was a post-operative infections, and he ended up in intensive care for quite a while. And I decided that this cardigan, these little squares, would be nice and portable, and that I would take them with me when I visited and sit by his bed knitting to keep me occupied, because he wasn't always awake. And they would be nice and easy, and then, you know, productive time, keep my hands busy, all of these kinds of things that I know that other obsessive knitters will resonate with you. But when I came to lay out all of the squares, what I found was that the ones that I had done before my dad was ill had a really nice, loose, even tension, which is my natural tension. I'm a very loose knitter. But the ones that I'd done in the hospital were tight and anxious and about a centimetre smaller all the way around. I couldn't block it out. And it kind of caused problems for the cardigan. And that was the first time that I put it aside. And after about 6 months, I thought, this is ridiculous. Brought it out, pieced the cardigan together to the point that I could sort of like try it on without the sleeves, because the sleeves are just stocking stitch. I put it on and I realised that I didn't like it. I would never wear it. And that it wasn't the problem with the missized blocks that was going, it was the back. Because the back, because you've got this garter stitch all the way around, it gives you really big, chunky seams. And at that point, I came on here and I said, you know, having these problems with this. And I got really good suggestions from you all. People suggested that instead of sewing the seams, I crochet them. And I think with any other pattern, that would work really well. And that's what I would have done. But here, because you need the points to match, adding in a crochet to keep it nice and flat would really negate that illusion. And other people suggested that I line it. And I did think about that for a while, but my sewing skills are not, my dressmaking skills are not great. And the idea of lining a knitted thing which has stretch in it, I decided it wasn't for me at that point. And again, this whole thing went into my craft cupboard and just made me feel guilty and made me feel that I'd wasted time and I'd wasted all of this beautiful yarn, and it was going to be so difficult to take it all to bits because it's colour work and all of these things. But then we had the studio, and we had this thing that we were going to, everybody was going to bring a project, think about a project that they were going to either finish or rework or pass on. And I thought, well, I will take my quilt cardigan, and what I'll do is I'll just make like a little lap blanket for it. So it's the right colours for a kind of like sitting bit. And that's what I'll do. So I took it all to bits. And then I thought, actually, you know, this is not a very big blanket at all. I'm going to have to knit a lot more to make it into a decent sized blanket. And then when I was sitting with my list of sort of like ideal projects, thinking about them, things that I want to knit in the next 6 months, say, I saw that on my list was a present for a baby. And this is my older daughter Zoe, her best friend from high school, has had a baby boy. And I thought, oh, it'd be lovely to make something. But, this was slipping further and further down the list. And there is a terrible tendency for baby presents to be not ready until the baby is at school with me. So it occurred to me that instead of making this into a lap blanket, I could make it into a cot quilt. And I knew that Emma, the mum, would love the idea of there being lots and lots of life in this blanket. She would get that she's not a corporate kind of young woman. I thought it would be really perfect. So this is what I have been doing. I have sewn up all of my squares into this baby blanket. Okay, it's 5 squares by 35. And then when it's done like that, the seams don't look nearly as bad. Obviously, I've got lots and lots of threading in at the back to do. But then I have just knitted this long binding here. And today I am sewing that on. And then along one of the strips, I'm going to sew who it's for and when, and that I knitted it. And then I'm going to find a really nice blessing and I will sew that on as well. And then, because we're going to give it to Emma on Saturday, so, this is not, I've not got masses and masses of time. I'm going to have to work on this tonight. And then it will be a baby blanket. And I am really, really pleased with that. I'm just, I think it's going to be beautiful. I think that all of the place power of those naturally dyed yarns are perfect for a baby. I think that the way that it was knitted as life went on around me is perfect for the start of a life. And I feel that this blanket will just be a wonderful protective start for a new baby. But I've still got all of that binding to sew down and the writing to do. So I'm going to leave it here and I shall see you next week. And if you're wanting to come and join us in the studio and talk about abandoned projects or anything really, we're a really, really lovely bunch of people and you can get all of the details underneath this. Bye-bye.